Next work of art, we're going to jump over the Atlantic Ocean and we're going to go look at this new country called the United States of America. What? We have technically been over this side of the Atlantic when we were looking at Copley's portrait of Paul Revere, aka Jack Black, right? But since then, there's been a revolution. All those ideas of the Enlightenment, the idea that government should serve the people, that there is power to the people, that has erupted in the American Revolution. We cannot get into the details of the American Revolution. We cannot get into the details of the establishment of the United States of America. For that, you're going to have to take a history of the United States class. But we need to understand that for when we look at the artwork that's happening over on this side of the Atlantic. So, the Declaration of Independence, heavily influenced by our Enlightenment thinkers. Signed on July 4th, the Declaration of Independence declared all men were created equal. Men, not women. It also declared that all men had the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Very similar to John Locke and life, liberty, and property. But John Locke was part of the Enlightenment. Yeah, exactly. Because these founding members of this new United States were reading John Locke. So you can see why scholars say that the Enlightenment is carried over into the neoclassic period. Where's the neoclassic come in then, Miss Cortez? Okay, well, we have a three-pronged system of government, including a Senate. What's the Senate? Spoiler alert, the ancient Romans had a Senate. The ancient Roman Senate is the basis for the United States Senate. In fact, the word Senate just means a group of wise men. So, Senate to Senate. And the establishment of a representative government is based on the Roman Republic, a representative government. Many people incorrectly call the United States of America a democracy. It's not a demos. It's not a one-to-one. Instead, it is a representative government, more in line with the Roman Senate or the Roman Republic. So we have our founding fathers establishing a new country based heavily on the classical Roman Republic, neoclassicism. With that, I want to emphasize that the United States of America is a lot smaller than it is today. It did not stretch from the Atlantic to the Pacific. Instead, it is this narrow strip of land on the East Coast. That is the, 13 original colonies. So, oh my gosh, and there's so much else going on. The French, the English, the Spanish, they're all just battling for territory here. It's all very interesting, but we can't get into that. So let's just remember, United States at this time, narrow strip of the East Coast. Why are we looking at this then, Miss Cortez? Because art helps to establish power. It embodies your values. And so what we see in what is happening in this new republic government of the United States of America is heavily aligned with the neoclassical style, like this. This is our first work of art in the United States. This is Thomas Jefferson's Monticello. It is his house in Charlottesville, Virginia, and, in the United States of America. Now notice here my period style. I say neoclassic, and then I also give it a further definition of the federal period. Scholars who are looking at art and history in the United States will often define these more specific periods of time. This is being created during the Federalist period, so I will allow you to say the federal period, but for our class, we're looking at this on a more larger meta level, and on a meta level, and a bigger idea, bigger eye, this is all happening in the neoclassical. Does that make sense? So I'll allow you to identify this as neoclassical or more specifically as the federal period. Okay. What we have is Thomas Jefferson's house in Charlottesville, Virginia. And what we see is, well, how do I put this? This is the main house on his plantation. Monticello is a plantation. It is a grand house, and it gets the name Monticello because, well, Monticello translates to tiny mountain. It's located on a tiny mountain over these rolling hills of Virginia, but it is also a plantation. Thomas Jefferson owned slaves, and Monticello, while we focus in on the main house, the site itself was a working plantation. And we're not going to get into the hypocrisy of the founding fathers declaring themselves free but also having slaves. But I want you to be aware of this. The site itself is now a national museum, and you can go visit it. On the plantation, there are extensive documents of Thomas Jefferson's inventory, which includes human beings. There are also, just on the other side of this hill here, the slave houses. And like I said, while we can't get into the ugliness of this, I do think it is important for me to acknowledge it. That being said, what we see in the main house was designed by Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson was the designer of this house? Thomas Jefferson, as in the author of the Declaration of Independence? Yes. Thomas Jefferson as the vice president to John Adams? Yes. Thomas Jefferson as in the third president of the United States? Yes. Thomas Jefferson also served as an ambassador in France. And during his time there, he did his own grand tour. He was rapidly, ravenously just taking in all European culture, sending home all these books and seeds and plants and statues and drawings and instruments and information. So he was doing his own grand tour while he was an ambassador in France. And he comes home and he builds Monticello. Do you see the classical influences in it? You should. Temple front, pediment, columns, dome, equal on either side. Ooh, yeah. He is making a very specific callback to the ancient Roman world, that pantheon with its dome and its temple front. You could also very correctly say that he's pulling back to Palladio, because guess what? Thomas Jefferson read Palladio's 4 books on architecture. Yes, I told you. These wealthy people had the extensive education in the Greek and Roman world, and they're going to utilize it. So what we have here is a connection between the Roman world, the Renaissance, and Thomas Jefferson. I mean, we could say correctly that this is Palladian in reference. He is referencing Palladio, so we have a palatial estate. If we look at it a little bit closer, we see that some of the architectural elements are covered in this beautiful white stonework and plaster. Very classical. It's trying to be like the white marble veneers that the ancient Romans and the Greeks would use on their structures. But we also see exposed brickwork. Now, Chiswick House didn't do that. Here, please forgive my fast scrolls. Chiswick House was all white because it wanted to be just like the ancient Roman and Greek veneer of white stonework. So why is this one not? All right, good question. What we are looking at here is an idea or understanding of Thomas Jefferson and his helping in establishing the new United States. While it does call back, or not call back, it does reference the ancient Roman world because it is a representative government, and he is very familiar with the ancient Roman world. The architecture calls to that. It also has this national tie to the United States because these beautiful red bricks are not just any bricks. Those are red clay, Virginia red clay bricks. Virginia was known for its really good bricks from this dense red clay. So those are Virginia red bricks. And he is from Virginia, and this is in Virginia. So having those red Virginia bricks exposed is making a kind of, what's the word? State pride, national pride. Also, the Romans loved bricks. Did you know that? The Romans, they thought bricks were fantastic. They would often build using concrete, and then they would line the structure in red bricks. Now, those bricks didn't really serve any structural purpose. Instead, they were symbolic. Symbolic of what? Okay, think of it. One brick, symbolic of one man. One brick, one man, can't really do much, right? Throw a brick, that's about it. But multiple bricks can build a wall. Multiple bricks can build a civilization. Multiple men can build a revolution. Multiple men can build a civilization. So the brick is symbolic of a government or a representative government. One man, one brick can't do much, but together the bricks can create this majestic world. All right. So here, Thomas Jefferson is echoing that Roman understanding and appreciation of the brick. It is a Virginia red brick, and bricks, one brick, one man, can't do much, but together they can build a new nation. Wow. This structure, you've seen it a lot because guess what? If ever you have cash, which is very rare, I know it, if you ever have a nickel, you've had it. It's the back of the nickel. Thomas Jefferson's on the front of the nickel, and on the back is his house, Monticello. So the next time you get your hands on a 5-cent piece, be like, look, it's Monticello. And your parents are going to be so impressed. They'll be like, my baby, so smart. Now, this architecture and this understanding of the ancient Roman world to this new burgeoning United States of America, it's not limited to just Monticello. Check it out. You see it? The White House. Balanced on either side with a temple front, pediment, columns. All right, okay. This, much later, but still very temple-like, it is the Lincoln Memorial. You see that? It's got columns on all sides. The straight up looks like an ancient Greek temple. Look at this, the Capitol building. Ooh, it's balanced on either side. It has columns. It doesn't have a temple front, but it's got this massive dome over the top of the Capitol building, right? We could go into more detail of the Capitol building, but instead, I'm going to cut it on time. But look at this. I love this. These are the columns inside of the Capitol building. Now, they're directly inspired by ancient Greek columns. Ancient Greek Corinthian columns have these leaves. The leaves are called acanthus leaves. You don't need to know that for this class, but I'm just telling you. So acanthus leaves make up the shape of the Corinthian column. But in the Capitol building, look, instead of acanthus leaves, they change it out for native plants of the United States. So corn, get it? That's so fantastic. Yes. Oh, also, the architects, Latrobe and L'Enfant, very French-sounding architects in this American country. Why is that? The French helped the United States of America with the revolution. They're buddies. And, well, they're the best of the best in terms of establishing of culture at this time. Everybody's turning to France. So, of course, United States of America is like, hey, France, we're buddies. Come on, help us build this Capitol building. Mm-hmm.